Okay, I think that's probably everyone. Over to you, Ollie.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Good to see you all. So yeah, as Mike mentioned, we'll show you our attendant console today. Our attendant console is part of our wider customer service app for Teams called Lua Nimbus. So to access Lua Nimbus, it's just an embedded app within my Teams environment here. So all I need to do is put this into my Teams sidebar, and then I get my Nimbus dashboards. What we'd normally suggest doing is popping out the attendant console into its own window. So just like I pop out a Teams chat or a Teams meeting, I can pop Nimbus out into its own window. And this means that if I'm using the attendant console, I can have this up on a separate monitor, or I can have this up in a separate window so I can easily access it. So this is my attendant console, and this is basically designed for any users that are handling a high volume of calls and need to transfer a lot of those calls on to other areas of the business. Okay, so on the right-hand side here, we have our services. So these are my Nimbus call queues. So in a reception environment, these might represent different office locations, like we've got a London one here, a Nottingham one, a Swiss one. And this will show me those groups or those queues that I've been assigned to as a user. You'll notice I can easily opt in and out of these here. So that means that I can log in and out for breaks or lunches, but also I can see the real-time call volumes in each of the services. So if I see that the reporting service has a particularly high call volume, I could actually log in there to help them out with that kind of call volume. So it's giving me that real-time view of how many callers are waiting in each queue, and also allowing me to log in and out there. It depends how many services you want to assign to each user. Obviously, some organizations just want to have a user per site, but this will allow a single user to control and answer calls for multiple sites. On the left-hand side here, we can see any callers that are live and waiting in the queue. So it's obviously really important for any call handler to have a real-time visibility of how many people are waiting, how long they've been waiting for, and this will just determine how quickly I need to handle calls, if I need to handle a call and then put another call on hold. So I've got that real-time view along the left-hand side here of how many people we have waiting, which services they're waiting in, and how long they've been waiting for there. If we do integrate this with a CRM system or have a contact directory integrated, we will also be able to display the name of the callers. So if you do recognize the name of the caller there, we'll be able to display that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a call in to one of our Nimbus services, and I'll show you that call handling experience of answering a call and using the attendant console to transfer it. So I'm putting this call in via my mobile. So this is now just going to wait in the queue here. You can see that's my mobile number in the queue. This is distributed as a native Teams call and my Teams toast, as any other Teams call would. Okay. So I've now got this call as a native Teams call here. So if this was just a standard call, I could handle it in my Teams call handling window here. However, if I'm using the attendant console, I'm going to use that to handle the call instead. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see the live call here. So I can see that call from my mobile number in my active calls. I could terminate that call from here. I could put that call on hold from here if I wanted to do. I'm now going to use my contact directory to help me make a transfer to that to the right person. So within our contact directory, I can say favorites groups. I can also build other custom groups here. So we've built a group here for the sales team. We've got a group here built for our other services. So these are our other queues for other offices. So I've got like a Swiss queue, a German queue here. And any internal contacts, I'm able to see their presence here. So this will just show me their team's presence straight away. So even before I attempt to make a transfer across to some of these contacts, I get a really good indication of whether they're available to handle those calls. So I can see here that Marcel is away. I can see that David here is offline. We can also see information here about their job title. We can see any other information around their email address, their mobile phone number from Active Directory, if I need to hand any of that out. And then we can also add custom notes. So if I want to help the rest of my team, but also advise myself in the future around what I need to do with these calls to these certain contacts, I can add these custom notes here. So I've said for John, we don't want to make any transfers before 10 a.m. For David here, we need to consult all of our calls, which means we need to announce all of our calls. These are really easy to add and manage here. We can just go to edit. We can change the type of note that is. So we can give that a warning status or just an information status here. So your users can manage those, and those will be visible to any other of the attendant console colleagues or users within the team. So let's say that this person called in, they wanted to transfer that call to David. We can see he's offline here, so we might not get much of a chance of transferring it, but we've got now 3 transfer options. So we've got a safe transfer, we've got a blind transfer, and a consultative transfer. So these are different transfer options, and I would use these in different ways depending on the type of caller. So if that person is a really important caller and we want to make sure we keep that person on the line, even if David doesn't answer, then we can use the safe transfer. This means that if David doesn't answer or that call goes to voicemail or he declines the call, then we will immediately get that call back so I can do something else with it. So the call isn't lost if we can't reach David if we use the safe transfer. The blind transfer just means that we send that call straight across to David, and if he doesn't answer, it will follow his team's routing path, so it might go to his voicemail or get forwarded to someone else, and we don't see that call again. The consultative transfer will put the existing call on hold, so this call will come up here to park, and then we will be able to ring through to David, and if he answers, we can obviously then ask him if he wants to take the call. So this will allow us to do an announced transfer and actually check with David whether he wants to take that call before we transfer it across to him. If we do want to transfer that call across to him, this will turn into a merge call button, and then we can manage that all within the attendant console. So that's the first step to decide the appropriate transfer option. So let's say I just wanted to create a blind transfer across to David here. I can then click into the transfer option and select my target. So the top one there is just going to be his UPN. That just means his Teams endpoint. So we can transfer this across to his Teams user account, and he can answer that on any of his Teams devices. We might actually just want to bypass him completely and send this call directly to his voicemail. So we've got that as an option here. And if he has a mobile number or an external landline number in Active Directory, those are also going to show here. So I could actually send a call through to his mobile number instead of his Teams account. We get similar options here with the safe transfer and also the consultative transfer. So let's say I wanted to announce a call to David. He didn't answer on his Teams account, but we still want to try on his mobile. I can still announce that call and do a consultative transfer via the mobile there. So those are my transfer options. We have a couple of alternative options available here as well. So this call to button will allow us to just make a Teams call out to any of these contacts. So if I'm a receptionist or an operator and I'm using this as my primary interface for telephony and Teams, I don't really want to go back to the Teams app there to make a call out to David. So if I just needed to call him, I can just make that call out to him straight away there, either to his mobile or to his UPN. So that would just be for me to make a call out to him. Here allows us to actually send a message to David while we're on a call, either via instant message in Teams or via email. So let's say that we've got this caller on the line. I've tried a safe transfer. David didn't pick up. I still want to let him know that this person's called. I can do that via Teams here. I can select a language template so we can send in multiple different languages. And if I go and select that English template here, what that will do is it will immediately take us into the Teams chat, and it will automatically create a template of a message here to David to say that this person's tried to reach you. Can you call them back? So this is copied across the phone number of my live call. So I haven't had to then take the number from a caller. I haven't had to copy and paste that. That's all done automatically for me. Alternatively, I can do pretty much exactly the same via email here. So let's say I wanted to send David an email. I've actually closed my emails down, but that will essentially load up an email to David here. It will automatically populate his email address with a subject line, call from this number, saying, here's their number, can you call them back? So that's just a really nice kind of simple tool there just to help improve the efficiency of the users, so they don't have to spend time writing out those messages and collecting the information from the callers. Finally, here we can actually see their Office 365 calendar. So this will just follow whatever access I have in Outlook. But this again just means I don't have to switch back to Outlook if I need to advise on their availability. So if he's not available, I might be able to say, okay, I can see he's in a meeting from 2 to 4 p.m. today. So maybe try and call back around 1 o'clock. So that means I can just help the caller there and advise on when they're going to be available. The final kind of aspect of this is the search capabilities. So we've obviously got our favorites groups, we've got our other kind of custom groups here, but we can also use this search bar at the top to find the relevant contacts. So I can search by name. That's pretty straightforward. So I can search for John here. I can see that John is offline. I can see that if I wanted to transfer to our Ollie and John automotive line here, there's somebody in time available. That means that the people in that Nimbus group, they're all on the phone, but there are people logged in to that service. So I could then, if somebody wanted to be transferred across to that other queue, I could say, yes, I can make the transfer, but they're all busy at the moment, so you might have to wait a little bit. I can just make the transfer straight across to another queue. Finally here, I can actually put different filters on the search. So let's say I just needed to find somebody who's available in our sales department. I can press D on my keypad and that will pull up our department filter. And now I can find everybody who's in our sales department in Active Directory. I can see that pretty much everyone's offline, but we have Dave here who's available, so I could transfer that call across to Dave. There are some other filters that we can use here. So we can filter by company, job title, and department there as well, just to help us kind of narrow down that search if I do have a large Active Directory. So I think there was a question there.
Yeah, Edward has very kindly asked about the clarification on the calendar permissions. Do you want to just explain what the how that works? Is it a Luware thing or is it an Active Exchange permission that we're talking about here?
Yeah, so this will just follow whatever permissions I have set up in Exchange. So here I've obviously got a slightly limited permission where I can see the blocks, but I can't actually see the titles. But again, if I didn't have any permission to David's calendar in Exchange, then I would just see a blank calendar here like you would in Outlook.
And likewise, if you had sort of limited details or full details, you would see what the actual events were within that view. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I know we had a question from Eddie in the previous session just around presence. Eddie, did you want any more clarification around how that sort of presence and visibility appears in this attendant console? Some typing going on, so we'll just wait for that. Sure. So yes, good. Ollie, maybe just reiterate just the presence and how that appears. A little bit small here off of my screen, but hopefully everyone can see Ollie hovering over that.
Yeah, so when I search a contact or I find them in one of my favorites lists next to their face there, just like in Team Standards, I would just see their presence. So I get that real-time feedback whether these people are actually available and able to handle the call.
Perfect, thank you. So the favorites, are they manually added or can we link to our full internal users? Do you want to just clarify those different kind of address books you've got in there?
Yeah, so the favorites are a personal kind of favorites list. So yes, they're manually added. So I just do that with a star. So let's just search for, make a search here and I'll show you how we add to those.
And this does require people to have some tidy and up-to-date Active Directories, Ollie, is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think so. So let's say, for example, we make a search and we want to add Hans as a favorite. All I have to do there is add contacts favorites. And then when I clear this, we should see them sitting in our favorites list. And so I can now see Hans there in my favorites list.
Can you create sort of an external directory? You know, let's say, you know, you've got a list of, you know, taxi firms or suppliers, things like that. How would you add those sort of things in?
Great point. Thanks, Mike. So we have a concept of external address books in Nimbus. So you can add external contact directories into your attendant console. So you can see here, these two contacts here are not from Active Directory. We can actually set the logo that we see for those contacts. So this is pizza delivery and that's Joe's Wings. So those are two takeout places, but if they're taxi firms or just other customers that I'm transferring to, then we can add those external contact directories from Excel or from SharePoint or Outlook. And yeah, what about recording? Yeah, so there are quite a few different recording options for Teams. So yeah, if you're interested in recording, yeah, please reach out to the Formation team and they'd be happy to talk about those.
Yeah, the Nimbus products don't cover the recording, but the recording is as an option. It's not a Nimbus product. Is that fair, Ollie? It is offered by Luware and Formation. So you've got options, guys. So speak to us and we can make a recommendation.
Yeah. Sorry, last question from Eddie there. In
Yeah.
terms of it depends how many users you have. So these views, so if I just wanted a full list of everyone, yeah, we can get that, but we only have yeah, we have 50 users per view. So I can do that easily on the company filter. So if I go company here, and then the Nifico is our I thought that was our company in the demo tenant. But yeah, when you search the company, you basically be able to see a full list of users, but that will show you 50 per page. So if you have more than 50, you'll have to flick through the pages.
So Eddie, in your example, 500 would be 10 pages worth of if you wanted to see a view. But generally speaking, the search, you'd narrow it down to a department or use a surname or first name, and the likelihood of that would be less than 50, so show on a single page. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I'll just wait for a second for any more to come in, and we'll wrap up this session. That'll be it for today. Tomorrow we've got 2 other sessions looking at the CRM integration. Ollie's obviously alluded to that with the IVR in terms of what we can do in terms of querying, CRMs to route or make routing decisions for calls. And with the attendant console, if we've got that kind of integration, we can pull in information about the callers into the queues that you see in the attendant console. So they'll be at 11. That will be at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and then after that we'll look at the reporting, so you can see your KPIs and metrics, real time and historic, within this application.